The courtroom lie. The camera pans across the grand, echoing halls of the Jefferson County Courthouse, an architectural monolith with towering columns and stained glass windows. The kind of building that makes a person feel small. But on this day, one woman made it feel smaller. All rise. The bailiff's voice thundered, bouncing off the cold marble walls as everyone stood. Judge Harold Whitman entered, silver-haired, stoic, and feared. 28 years on the bench, known for his tough-on-crime stance, but also known, in hushed tones, for his history of disproportionately sentencing black defendants. In the defendant's chair sat Serena Miles, a tall, poised black woman with a military haircut and hands folded gently on her lap. Her demeanor was so calm it unnerved everyone in the room, especially Judge Whitman. Across from her, District Attorney Kevin Rowe was already standing, confident, smug. His entire case rested on a single eyewitness, the kind that usually wouldn't make it past a competent judge. But with Whitman, he knew it would be enough. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Rowe began, what you see here is a woman trained in combat, a woman whose military record includes violent outbursts and disciplinary issues. She murdered Councilman Travis Denslow in cold blood. And we have the witness to prove it. The crowd murmured. Reporters scribbled. Cameras clicked. Whitman's eyes narrowed as he watched Serena. She wasn't reacting. Not even a twitch. She didn't blink at the accusation, didn't shake her head, didn't plead for mercy. Just sat. Still. It was unnerving. Ms. Miles, Whitman finally said after the closing arguments wrapped, you may rise for the jury's verdict. The foreperson didn't hesitate. Guilty. First-degree murder. Gasps echoed through the room. Serena's court-appointed attorney shook his head in disbelief. This is a mistake. There's no physical evidence. Just one testimony from a known felon. Whitman slammed his gavel. Silence. Ms. Miles, I hereby sentence you to life without the possibility of parole. For the first time, Serena looked up. Her eyes met Whitman's. Calm. Piercing. And she spoke 5 words that would haunt him forever. You've just made a mistake. The prison transport van rumbled down a long stretch of isolated road, escorted by 2 patrol cruisers. Serena sat in the back, her wrists chained, ankle cuffs tight enough to cut. Her eyes scanned the terrain, routine to the untrained eye. But to her, every turn, every guard, every angle of sunlight meant something. She wasn't a woman beaten by injustice. She was calculating, measuring, waiting. They thought they'd buried her, tossed her into the broken system, and locked the lid. They didn't know who they'd just buried alive. Greenstone Federal Penitentiary loomed ahead like a fortress. Towering watchtowers, electrified fences, roving guards with K-9 units. As the gates opened, Serena's feet touched ground. A group of guards stood waiting, smirking like they were about to break a new inmate. You're in our house now, Princess, one said. His name tag read McClure. Don't care if you were military. Inside here, you're just another number. Serena looked him in the eye and replied, noted. They processed her, stripped her, scanned her, humiliated her, but she showed nothing, just like she was trained to. A former Navy SEAL, Level 3 combative certified, classified missions across Africa, Asia, and Eastern Europe. She'd seen war, watched friends die, fought battles under the cover of total darkness. But she'd never faced a war like this one. A war against the very system she swore to protect. Inside the general population wing, her arrival caused a ripple. She was different. Too calm. Too clean. Too observant. She scanned the cell block, catching details in seconds. Who ran what? Which gangs controlled which sections? Who the guards protected? Who they feared? That night, in the cafeteria, it happened. 5 inmates approached. All white, covered in prison tattoos. Known racists. Heard you think you're better than us, said the biggest one. Military bitch. Let's see what that uniform trained you for." Serena didn't flinch. Her tray stayed in her hands. The first attacker lunged. In 4 seconds, he was unconscious on the floor. The second and third followed. Sloppy, predictable. 2 precise strikes. Down. The fourth hesitated. Serena stared her down until the woman dropped her weapon and backed off. The entire cafeteria went dead silent. Even the guards looked rattled. Warden Edwin Briggs watched the footage from the control room. He leaned back in his chair, jaw tight. "Who the hell is she?" he muttered. Beside him, Deputy Warden Kessler frowned. "Miles. Serena, convicted of murder." But he tapped his keyboard. Her military files mostly redacted. Briggs narrowed his eyes. "We need to keep an eye on her." Kessler didn't say what he was thinking. That woman could kill every guard in this facility if she wanted. Meanwhile, in his wood-paneled office, Judge Whitman sipped scotch from a crystal glass. The news headlines scrolled across the muted TV. "Decorated Navy SEAL sentenced for councilman's murder." He smirked. Another conviction in the books, another career notch, another reminder of his power. He didn't know the storm that was coming. Because in a forgotten corner of Greenstone Prison, Serena Miles was building a war plan, not just to escape, but to expose the entire system, to bring down the men who framed her, to bring justice, not in the courtroom, but in the battlefield they never saw coming. The predator in the cage. The metal door to cell B41 creaked shut with finality, locking Serena Miles in for the night. The overhead lights flickered before dimming, throwing the entire block into shadows. Most inmates lay restless, murmuring in sleep or plotting in silence. But not Serena. She sat on the edge of her metal bunk, legs crossed, her posture alert yet relaxed. Her eyes never blinked too long. Her breath remained steady. Her mind replayed every second of that day. The weak points in the guards' routines, the blind spots in the surveillance system, the whispered threats between inmates when they thought no one was listening. This wasn't just prison. It was a machine, a network, a pipeline, and Serena was about to dismantle it, one screw at a time. Elsewhere in the prison, Deputy Warden Kessler stared at a redacted military file on his office computer. The top of the screen read, "Confidential. FORIWIS ONL. YUUS Naval Special Warfare Command DFIL 9412A SNILES AXESD90 CLSFID LEVL 7." He rubbed his temples. Who the hell did we just lock up? The more he dug, the more concerned he became. No disciplinary records, dozens of medals, multiple commendations, unconfirmed participation in a classified operation in Afghanistan. And then, nothing. A sharp knock broke his thoughts. The door opened. Warden Briggs entered, looking tired and angry. "She's making waves already," he muttered. "You saw what she did in the cafeteria." Kessler nodded. It wasn't just defense. It was surgical. She's not reacting to prison. She's observing, like she's waiting for something. Briggs grunted. "Well, let her wait. Let's see how she handles solitary. Tomorrow, she's transferred to the box. Let's break her down early." But breaking Serena Miles was not going to be easy. Because she wasn't waiting out of fear. She was waiting for a target. The next morning. Solitary block, cell S13. Serena was escorted in silence through a narrow hallway that smelled of bleach and forgotten souls. Thick metal doors lined the corridor, some with scratch marks, some with smeared messages in blood or feces. The deeper into the block, the more the building seemed to rot from within. Guard Reynolds shoved her roughly into a dark cell. "Enjoy the dark, Rambo." The door slammed shut. Total silence. Serena didn't panic. She didn't rage. She didn't cry. She crouched and began counting seconds, listening to footfalls, noting airflow from the ceiling vent, tracing the outline of the walls with her fingers to find structural weaknesses. She wasn't confined. She was calibrating. The judge adjusted his Rolex and admired the shine of his gavel. His office walls were lined with photographs, shaking hands with senators, golf outings with the mayor, awards for service to justice. Yet for the first time in months, he felt unease creeping in. His clerk had quietly informed him that someone from Internal Affairs had requested access to the Serena Miles case file. Unusual, suspicious. He leaned forward and opened his private drawer. Inside was a flash drive, the real file with altered timelines and redacted evidence. He knew what he'd done, and he didn't regret it. Not yet. Councilman Travis Denslow stood in his luxury condo, voice shaking as he spoke on the phone. "You don't understand, Whitman. She's military. She has files on me, on us. She threatened to go public. I think she's already sent stuff to a journalist." Judge Whitman's voice was cold. "Then we take her off the board." That was the night Denslow was found dead in the parking lot, one bullet through the chest, staged like a robbery gone wrong. And that was the lie they built the case on. A forged surveillance tape, a junkie named Vince Holloway who testified that Serena had argued with Denslow, a planted weapon with her fingerprints, lifted from a military application years ago, and a judge willing to look the other way. But what they didn't count on was Serena's mind. 3 nights without light, 4 days with only the minimal meals shoved through the slot. Serena had barely spoken, but she had listened. One night, the ventilation system carried voices through the pipes. 2 guards. Another transfer tonight. Yeah, that Reynolds girl. Too much mouth. Buyer wants her processed by 3 a.m. Miles is next. Once she cracks, she goes too. Serena's fists clenched. She'd suspected something deeper than corruption. This wasn't just bad policy. It was trafficking. Women, especially black military women, declared unstable, imprisoned, and then quietly removed from the system. Sold. Disappeared. A shadow operation hiding in plain sight. Her mission changed that night. Escape wasn't enough. She had to burn it down. The riot begins. The mess hall was boiling with tension. Gang leaders had been agitated. Food rations had been accidentally cut. Guards were more aggressive than usual. It didn't take much for a fight to break out. Then another. Then another. Within minutes, chaos erupted. While sirens blared and inmates screamed, Serena, freshly released from solitary under the guise of good behavior, used the moment. She slipped away. She knew where the security blind spots were. She knew which guards wouldn't report seeing her. They were either part of the operation or too scared to speak. She ducked into the laundry unit and quickly changed into a cleaner's uniform. Minutes later, she was in the East Wing, where the administration's security systems were controlled. Warden's office. Surveillance control. As the riot raged, Warden Briggs and Kessler argued. "We can't let it spread to the admin wing," Kessler warned. "Then lock it down. Now." "I already did." But Serena was already inside. She choked out a guard, took his ID, and accessed a locked server room. What she found inside made her stomach churn. Videos, files, voice recordings, women screaming, guard conversations about buyers, logs of transfers that were never reported, photos of bruised, broken inmates, some she recognized, some she feared were already gone. She copied it all onto a USB and slipped out just as backup arrived to quell the riot. Judge Whitman. At home that night, he opened a mysterious envelope sitting on his doorstep. No name, no return address. Inside, a single USB and a note. "Your Honor, you wanted her gone, but she's still here. And now, we all know." S. Whitman turned pale. He jammed the drive into his laptop. The video began playing. A masked guard, smirking. A chained woman, sobbing. A voice saying, "Miles is next, but I want her broken first." The judge's hands trembled. His legacy, his empire, everything he built, about to be exposed. And he realized he hadn't buried Serena Miles. He'd woken her up. Mission Reignite. GREESTONAE Federal Penitentiary. Nightfall. The prison seemed calm on the surface. The riot had been subdued. Inmates were locked in their cells. Guards were sweeping through halls like bloodhounds, barking orders and cracking batemans. Surveillance drones floated overhead. But deep in the underbelly of Greenstone, beneath the east stairwell where wires dangled like vines and old maintenance shafts hadn't seen light in years, Serena Miles was moving. She crawled through a ventilation duct no wider than her shoulders, her breath slow and even, her focus razor-sharp. The USB drive she'd stolen from the surveillance room was strapped tightly under her sleeve. She didn't make a sound. That's what they never understood. She wasn't just strong. She wasn't just trained. She was invisible when she chose to be. And now she had proof. Proof that Greenstone wasn't a prison. It was a front, a hub for something bigger, something darker. Disgraced female veterans, mostly black, quietly funneled in. Then one by one, gone. No paperwork, no parole hearings, no families notified. And now she knew why. 3 years ago, Operation Quiet Dawn. The desert winds howled as Serena crouched beside a sand-colored truck, a sniper rifle slung across her back. Her team, Bravo Echo 7, was deep in enemy territory on a hostage retrieval mission. She was the team's lead recon officer. Through her scope, she saw the target, a military contractor turned rogue, holding 3 female prisoners in a compound guarded by mercenaries. They weren't supposed to engage. But Serena saw what others missed. Those women weren't POWs. They were assets, being trafficked. Her superior ordered them to stand down. She went in anyway. Rescued all 3. She was reprimanded, demoted, transferred. That's when the whispers started. Unstable. Too emotional. A problem. It was never about the mission. It was about what she knew. GREENSTONE. A bando ni di storage tunnel. Serena exited the duct and landed softly inside a forgotten supply closet. Dust-covered boxes lined the walls. Broken fans, unused riot gear, and tucked under a canvas tarp. A radio. Not the kind that patched into prison security. This one was military issue. Long range. Secure channel. She powered it on. The red light blinked. Echo 5, this is Iron Valkyrie. Do you copy? Static. She adjusted the frequency. Echo 5, do you copy? Then a voice. Broken, wary, but familiar. Valkyrie. Holy hell. Is that really you? Serena closed her eyes. Yes. I'm alive. And I need extraction. Hd Orail Q Urthhoyos, Ju Whitman's Private Chambers. Judge Harold Whitman paced like a man walking the plank. The blinds were drawn. Security cameras were disabled. On his desk lay the USB Serena had sent him. Its contents had shaken him to the core. The videos, the trafficking logs, the whistleblower recordings, and worst of all, his own voice. A recorded phone call from months earlier, coordinating with Warden Briggs to *** dispose of a classified problem. And now, that problem had resurfaced. Stronger, smarter, armed with proof. He couldn't go to the authorities, not without implicating himself. So he made a call. "Bring in Connor Wolf," he said into the receiver. "Tell him it's time. A private plane. Somewhere above the Midwest." Connor Wolf was ex-military, discharged for conduct the Pentagon refused to comment on. Now he was a mercenary with a reputation for hunting problems. He read the file Whitman's courier had handed him. Serena Miles, former SEAL, exceptional in hand-to-hand combat, expert in infiltration and evasion. He smiled. "She's one of us," he muttered. "Shame she's got to go." He tucked the file away and looked out the window. Target: Greenstone Prison, ETA. 6 hours. GRENS20E. Medical Wing, 2:23 m. Serena quietly slipped into the infirmary through the ceiling panel. She lowered herself silently, disabling the hallway camera with a magnetized clip. The room was quiet, clean, suspiciously unused. Inside a locked drawer, she found a stash of vials, sedatives, muscle relaxers, and a small notebook. She flipped it open. Names, dates, body weights, transfer times, and scribbled across the top of the page in red ink: "Approved for relocation, Unit 9A. Unit 9. It didn't exist on the prison map, but Serena had seen it before, from above. A section near the old incinerator, where no cameras operated and guards rarely patrolled. She snapped photos of the notebook with the burner phone she'd stashed weeks earlier. This was it, the funnel, the slaughterhouse. And tomorrow night, she was going in. Meanwhile, in this city, newsroom of REPORTER, Lena Voss. Investigative journalist Lena Voss stared at the file that had appeared on her desk without explanation. No envelope, no name, just a note. Check the timeline, ask the judge who signed off, and follow the noise. Inside the manila folder were prison transport logs, lists of names, nearly all of them women, mostly black, who entered Greenstone over the past 3 years, but had no record of release or death. No official transfer. Just vanished. She reached for her phone and made a call. "Hey, I need to talk to someone about Judge Harold Whitman. Now." GRENS20E. The next night, Unit 9A. Serena crouched behind an empty crate near the incinerator. The fog of night covered the prison in shadow. She wore a stolen maintenance uniform, her face smudged with soot. Every move had been rehearsed 1,000 times in her head. She watched as 2 guards emerged from a hidden door, dragging a sedated woman between them. Serena recognized her from the yard. A young recruit named Alana, arrested after blowing the whistle on her corrupt commanding officer. Serena moved. She struck like lightning. 2 quick hits, one to the throat, one to the knee. The first guard dropped. The second tried to shout. She silenced him with a sleeper hold, catching his body as he collapsed. She carried Alana inside, and what she saw, she would never forget. The room, Unit 9A, the truth, steel tables, restraint chairs, IV bags dripping with sedatives, 3 women unconscious, barely breathing, paperwork signed off by federal judges, all of them once soldiers, all of them discarded. She snapped photos, grabbed files, took video. Then, as she turned to leave, she froze. Connor Wolfe was standing in the doorway, dressed in black, a silenced pistol in one hand. Calm, calculating. "You're impressive," he said, "but this is the end of the road, Miles." Serena stepped between him and the women. "You kill me," she said calmly, "but the data's already out. You won't stop it." Wolfe smirked. "We don't need to stop the truth. We just bury it beneath fear." Then he fired. Buried lies, unchained truth. The muzzle flash lit the small underground chamber for a split second, followed by a sharp crack. Then silence. Connor Wolfe's pistol hovered in the air, his aim still fixed where Serena Miles had stood. But she wasn't there anymore. A shadow darted behind the ivy rack, rolling across the cold concrete floor with fluid precision. Wolfe turned, too late. Serena emerged from the darkness like a ghost. A disarm maneuver, swift and surgical. She caught his wrist, twisted, and slammed his shooting arm against the metal table. The pistol skittered across the floor. Wolfe grunted. "Nice move." Serena didn't respond with words. Her fist did the talking, a hook to his temple that would have knocked out a normal man. But Wolf was ex-Special Forces too. He staggered, wiped blood from his cheek, and grinned. Wolf is evifying. That day, Judge Whitman sat across from Wolf in a private luxury suite in the city, documents spread across a glass table. She's not just trained, Whitman warned. She's surgical, efficient. She's not a threat. She's a weapon. Wolf had smiled. Good. I like a challenge. The fight was quiet, like professionals trained to kill without drawing attention. No screaming. No wasted energy. No mercy. Wolf tried to grab Serena by the throat. She ducked, swept his legs, and landed a knee to his ribs. But Wolf recovered fast, using brute force to slam her into the wall. A crack echoed. The impact shook Serena's spine. You're outnumbered, outgunned, out of time. Wolf growled. But you're wrong about one thing, Serena rasped. I'm not alone. Then, Hiraik. A metal pipe struck Wolf's skull from behind. Alana, still groggy, stood barefoot in her prison gown, trembling but defiant. You mess with the wrong sister, she muttered. Wolf crumpled. Serena caught him before he hit the ground and whispered into his ear. You don't bury a Navy SEAL. You just make her mission personal. City Hall. Morning. Journalist Lena Voss sat in front of 5 computer monitors. Her assistant poured coffee as she clicked through encrypted files. Photos of Unit 9A, sedated inmates, forged transport orders signed by Judge Harold Whitman. It was a political nuke waiting to explode. This is bigger than we thought, Lena said, her voice trembling. This isn't just one judge. It's a network. Federal, state, private contractors, military, too. Her assistant swallowed hard. And the whistleblower. Lena's eyes narrowed. She's not a whistleblower. She's the storm. Then her phone buzzed. An untraceable message appeared. Greenstone. 4 survivors. Need extraction. Evidence secured. Clock ticking. Prison control room. 7:05 a.m. Warden Briggs stood with clenched fists, watching replay footage of Serena escaping Unit 9A with 3 dazed women and 1 unconscious man in black gear, Connor Wolf. He cursed and slammed his fist against the desk. Seal the East Wing. I want her dead before sunrise. No more warnings. No more plans. Just end her. Deputy Warden Kessler hesitated. Sir, if word gets out. Briggs' eyes flared. It won't. We erase her. We torch Unit 9A. And anyone who says otherwise finds themselves in a padded cell with a psychological breakdown. But Wolf. He failed. We'll make it look like he turned. Blame it on him. He clicked into the facility's override system. Unit 9 began to fill with gas. Meanwhile, underground away. Escape in motion. Serena and Alana supported 2 unconscious women as they slipped through the maintenance corridors. Serena's breath was ragged. Her injuries were catching up, but she pushed forward. There was no other option. The file was in her backpack. The names, the logs, the faces. They reached the old furnace tunnel, abandoned and unguarded. Ahead was the city sewer exit, where Lena's contact would extract them. But the walls began to vibrate. A soft hissing. Serena's SEAL instincts kicked in. Gas, she snapped. Movie. They broke into a sprint, the 2 conscious women dragging their sisters along. Serena hit the manual override lever, forcing the gate open. The tunnel erupted behind them as flames ignited the gas. A wall of fire chased them, consuming everything behind. They dove into a shallow underground canal just as the heat licked their backs. U.S. The women were treated by a rogue medic, one of Serena's old contacts from Afghanistan. Their vitals were stable. Wounds tended. Trauma too fresh to mend. Serena sat in the corner, bandaging her ribs, watching the sun dip below the skyline. The file was on the table, copies uploaded to Lena, physical evidence sent to a federal safe drop. She had done it. She cracked the prison, exposed the network, and saved 4 women from the void. But it wasn't over. G.G. Whitman's OFIC night. He was on the phone, pacing like a man walking a noose. Yes, I saw the leak. Voss has the files, but she hasn't gone public yet. A pause. No, I don't care about the others. I care about my reputation. Fix this. I want her name buried, her image destroyed. Turn her into a criminal. Terrorist. I don't care how. Just do it. He hung up and looked into his own reflection. His eyes weren't proud anymore. They were hunted. GRENSTOE. The next day. NEUSBRO The world watched as Lena Voss released Operation Valkyrie to the public. 57 names. 23 confirmed missing. 7 dead. All connected to the same judges. The same prison pipeline, the same dark trade, photos, documents, videos, all real, all irrefutable, and at the center of it all, a single photo. Serena Miles, prisoner, veteran, patriot, Montague. As the world reacts, senators scramble to distance themselves. The military issues statements, denies involvement. Judge Whitman is put on sabbatical pending investigation. Warden Briggs vanishes. Kessler testifies. The news explodes. People take to the streets. But Serena disappears. Desert. Unknown location. Days later, a battered black SUV pulls into a safe compound built into red rock. Inside, Serena sits at a laptop, watching the world react. The others, Alana, the survivors, train quietly in the background, working out, reading, rebuilding. You okay? Alana asks. Serena nods. They tried to frame me, bury me, sell me, silence me. She turns toward the sunrise beyond the canyon walls. But they forgot what happens when you train a soldier to survive the worst. She looks back, eyes fierce. You don't break her. You forge her. The trial that was never meant to happen. Washington, D.C., National Media Center, night. A sea of flashing cameras lit up the press conference stage like a lightning storm. Reporters packed the room, shouting over one another, voices filled with urgency and fear. Is it true she escaped a federal prison? Are the trafficking allegations confirmed? Who authorized the secret transfers? Is Judge Harold Whitman under federal investigation? Behind the podium stood Lena Voss, flanked by civil rights attorneys, survivors, and lawmakers who couldn't afford to stay silent anymore. In her hand, she held a single manila folder. Ladies and gentlemen, Lena began, her voice steady despite the weight of what she was about to reveal. This file contains evidence that high-ranking officials, including members of the judiciary, prison administrators, and private contractors, were complicit in a multi-state trafficking network, targeting black female veterans declared unfit for duty. The room fell completely silent. And this entire conspiracy, she added, eyes burning into the cameras, would have remained hidden, if not for Serena Miles. A single photo appeared on the digital screen behind her, Serena's military portrait. Straight-backed, steely-eyed, a woman who refused to vanish. SAFEHOUS. Colorado Wilderness. Same time. The room was dimly lit, the glow of laptop screens casting shadows across cracked wood-paneled walls. Serena Miles sat in front of a monitor watching the broadcast unfold. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, resisting the urge to join the war she had started. Beside her, Alana brought over a mug of black coffee. Serena accepted it with a quiet nod. "You sure you don't want to be there?" Alana asked. Front and center. Serena shook her head. "The truth is louder without me. I already did what I needed to do." But her expression was haunted, because she knew something the world didn't. This wasn't over. Two Nikitias as earlier. Abandoned airfield. She'd intercepted a message on Wolf's encrypted comms before leaving Greenstone. Initiate fallback op. Target will testify. Silencing Judge is now priority. Wolf had failed to kill her, but his team hadn't stopped working. Now they had a new target, Judge Harold Whitman himself. It was a clean-up mission. Wipe the slate. Kill the man who knew too much before he flipped. Serena stared at the message on her burner phone and whispered to herself, "They're going to erase him. GUDG Whitman's private RESIDENC, same night." Whitman sat alone in his study, swirling scotch in a glass he hadn't put down for hours. He hadn't slept. The media was relentless. His phones hadn't stopped ringing. His law firm had cut ties. His name was trending under #judicial trafficker. And now, he was afraid. He moved to close the drapes when a flicker caught his eye. A man across the street, standing completely still, staring at him. No badge, no car, no expression, just watching. Whitman stumbled back, slamming the curtain shut. Too late. The bullet shattered the glass. Interior. Whitman's PNIC room. Minutes later, he barely made it inside before the gunfire started. The thick steel door hissed closed, sealing him in. His heart raced. His hands trembled. Inside the room, cameras showed his home being overrun. 3 men. Tactical gear. Silenced weapons. Laser-focused. No badges. No emblems. No mercy. They weren't here to scare him. They were here to end him. Whitman scrambled to the emergency phone. It rang once before connecting. "If you're calling me," came Serena's voice, "then you finally realize what it feels like to be hunted." "They're going to kill me," he shouted. "Yes," Serena replied, calm as ever. "That's what they do to liabilities. Help me. I can give you names, money, anything." A pause. "Why should I help the man who framed me?" His voice cracked. "Because if I die, the full story dies too." Another long pause. Then Serena answered, "I'll see you in court. Stay alive until then." Federal SAFEHOUSE. Next morning. Whitman had been evacuated during the night. No one knew how. He now sat in a steel chair, surrounded by agents, a bulletproof vest strapped across his chest. His hand shook as he signed an agreement. Full federal testimony in exchange for protection. But Serena watched from a live feed, arms crossed. She didn't want a deal. She wanted justice. Pre-trial hearing. 2 weeks later. Federal Courtroom. The room buzzed with tension. Cameras were banned, but every seat was filled. At the defendant's table, Judge Harold Whitman, pale and silent. At the prosecutor's desk, U.S. Attorney Rebecca Jang and Lena Voss, now acting as special investigator. But it was the gallery that drew attention. Rows of women, veterans, survivors, whistleblowers, all wearing the same thing. A plain black t-shirt with one word across the chest. UNSIL. ENCED. Then the doors opened, and Serena Miles walked in. No prison uniform, no chains, just her military dress blues. The room stood. Even Whitman. He couldn't stop himself. The woman he thought he buried now stood in front of him as his reckoning. TSTIMONY. That same day. State your name for the record. Serena Miles. Former occupation. United States Navy SEAL, Tier 1 operator. I served this country for 12 years, until I became a liability to the wrong men. Her voice was calm, clear, measured, and it shattered the courtroom. For over 2 hours, she walked the court through her journey. From patriot, to prisoner, to fugitive, to freedom fighter. She named names. She submitted documents. She showed the faces of the missing. And then she said, "You didn't just convict me. You tried to erase me. But I am not a ghost. I am the consequence." End of DKK Day. Outside courthouse, a crowd had gathered. Reporters shoved microphones forward. Serena stepped up to the podium. "This isn't just my story," she said. "It's every woman who was told to sit down, shut up, or disappear. Every soldier who was betrayed by the system they swore to protect. This is for them, and we are not done." Montague, Justice in Motion. Warden Briggs arrested in a sting in Panama. Private contractors raided by federal task forces. A total of 134 women found, alive. Survivors creating a fund to help others rebuild. Serena testifying before Congress. A new law proposed, the Miles Act, to protect veterans and whistleblowers. National Veterans Hail. Montague later. Serena stood on stage before a crowd of soldiers. She was being honored, but her eyes scanned the room for one person. In the front row sat a young black girl in ROTC uniform, eyes wide with wonder. Serena knelt and pinned a medal on the girl's chest. "You fight for something bigger than your uniform," she whispered. "You fight for truth." The crowd erupted into applause. And for the first time in years, Serena Miles smiled. She came back for every one of them. Hinantagion CBCO MITTE hearing. National BROADCAST. 1 year later. Camera lenses click. Military brass line the panel. Congressional aides shuffle nervously. And behind the oak wood nameplate, Serena Miles sits in her dress blues, eyes forward, hands folded calmly. A large screen behind her shows grainy photos. Dark corridors, underground chambers, faces of drugged and missing women. One name flashes across the top. Pro-GCT Phantom Widow. Unauthorized domestic black site transfers, 2011 to 2024. The chairman leans forward. "Miss Miles, are you prepared to testify?" She clears her throat. "I've been prepared for 10 years, sir." And so begins the final reckoning. 18 Montages Liar. GRENSTONES day. The prison doors slammed shut one final time. Armed federal agents lined the perimeter as prison buses pulled away, transporting rescued survivors to new facilities, where trauma therapists, advocates, and veteran liaisons awaited. Serena stood at the edge of the cracked concrete courtyard, watching the symbol of her own captivity crumble from the inside out. Warden Briggs had been arrested in Bogota. Judge Whitman was behind bars, convicted not just of conspiracy, but of crimes against humanity. And yet, Serena felt no joy, only resolve. There were others, because Greenstone was just one node in a nationwide spider web. The judges, the corporations, the silencers. They ran deep. Serena wasn't just going to expose them anymore. She was going to dismantle them, one by one. Serena rappelled down the side of a 15-story building, wind battering her body. Her comm crackled in her ear. "Target is still inside. 2 minutes until data uplink completes." "Copy that," she whispered. She kicked in the window with clinical grace and burst into the data center, moving like shadow through light. 3 guards down before alarms triggered. 1 hard drive, labeled TLIENTACquisition/ASSETs/Q4 female VETS, slipped into her pack. As reinforcements swarmed, she dove from the balcony into the Chicago River below, her form slicing the water clean. Mission complete. Another hub destroyed. Another 53 names freed from silence. Montage. The world changes. The Miles Act passes Congress, federally criminalizing private transfer of prisoners without transparent oversight. 2 retired generals arrested for collusion. Whistleblower protections triple in scope. Veteran advocacy networks expand by 400%. A Netflix docuseries based on her life garners global acclaim. SEAL'd in silence. But Serena keeps moving. She turns down book deals, refuses interviews, because she isn't looking for fame. She's still hunting ghosts. SAFEHOUSE in Atlante, 10:47 p.m. Serena sits at a table. A whiteboard beside her lists dozens of names. Judges, CEOs, contractors. Many are crossed out. One remains circled in red. General E. Royce Maddox, a man with medals on his chest and blood on his hands. Retired, wealthy, protected, untouchable. He had been the architect of Phantom Widow. And now, he was hosting a charity gala. Black tie gala. Savannah, Georgia, 2 weeks later. Beneath crystal chandeliers and champagne toasts, politicians laughed, smiled, and made false pledges to veteran justice. General Maddox stood at the podium, oozing charm. "Our soldiers are America's backbone," he said, "and I'll always fight for them." From the back of the room, Serena moved silently through the crowd. Her gown was elegant, her heels deliberate. But beneath the fabric, a flash drive and a confession. She approached Maddox just as he finished his speech. "General," she said, extending her hand. He turned, smiling, until his eyes locked on hers. Recognition. Fear. Too late. Private back room. 10 minutes later. Maddox was tied to a steel chair. His own security guards lay unconscious outside. Serena leaned in, pressing play on a recorder. "Say it," she whispered. "What is this? Say what you did. The names, the transfers, the trials that never happened, the lives you destroyed." He snarled. "You think this changes anything? I built the damn system. You're just a footnote." She stepped back, calm. "Then let history remember who erased you." She sent the file directly to 3 federal agencies. Within an hour, the FBI stormed the gala. Maddox was arrested on the steps in front of every camera. His final words before being cuffed. It was supposed to stay buried. Final hearing. National TV. Present day. Serena finishes her testimony. The room erupts in applause. Survivors cry. Lawmakers stand. The military brass lower their heads. The chairman clears his throat. "Miss Miles, on behalf of the United States of America, thank you. You didn't just fight for justice. You redefined it." She stands, salutes, and walks off the stage. Veteran COUNSE Elaine Center. Small town. 6 montages later. Children laugh outside. Women stretch in yoga class. A therapy dog wags its tail. Serena Miles walks down the hallway, clipboard in hand. She wears simple jeans and a t-shirt with one word. Free. A young woman, a 22-year-old veteran, steps into the hallway. "Ms. Miles." Serena turns. "They said you'd be too busy." I don't know who else to talk to." Serena smiles softly. "You just did." She opens the door. The two sit, and a new story begins.